All right. We're about to begin. Just a second, chat. I hope everyone's doing great today. It's been interesting. All right. How is everyone today? Before I begin, did anyone, I will be doing a brief redo of Anvil Day and stuff today, but also I might be playing some regular Star Citizen as well. So we'll see. But we also have SCL today. So, and I heard there was some interesting stuff described not only on Star Citizen Live, but where is it? Hold on. Star Citizen Live. There we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to
And
another episode of Star Citizen Live, our Invictus All Vehicles Gameplay Q&A. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee.
Hopefully we get
and
some
joining us on the show this week are a few esteemed members from the various gameplay feature teams throughout Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development that work on features related to the spaceships and vehicles. It's always hard. We used to just say ships, and then we started making more ground vehicles, and I'm like, no, you gotta call it vehicles now, not just spaceships. Spaceships just dismiss all the great work of ground vehicles. And now I'm already lost in the show. Before we get started, I wanted to call out a couple things for folks who were questioning some of the questions and some of the discussion from last week's show and stuff. A lot of the questions that are submitted into our threads when we pull questions are things that obviously people want to see, people want to know about, people are anxiously waiting for. It doesn't mean they're actually in active development. If a thing is not in what we call active development, which is where a person is literally, like, their tasks this week are to work on a thing, there's usually no new information to give. Folks who have followed the project for any long period of time will tell you that in the earlier days when we were still all figuring out what Star Citizen was and figuring out what weekly content was and stuff, we were sometimes quite vociferous and loquacious with our verbiage, and now I'm just reading it from the source. Basically, we would just talk pie in the sky. Maybe we'll do this, and maybe we'll do this and stuff. And sometimes it can set expectations that are unfair to set in people. So over the last few years, you've probably noticed that we hold things a little closer to our vest. If a thing is not in active development, we try not to talk about it too much, because there's just too much about game development that can change between now and the moment when we actually start to work on it. So for that reason, I'm sure you've noticed in our storytelling, ISC, SCL, that we tend to talk more about things that are coming in the next 3 to 6 months, as opposed to things that are coming in the next year to 2 years and stuff like this. So in the question thread, there were a lot of questions like, what about personal VIP transport and stuff like this, which is not currently in active development? Or what about medical gameplay, which is, while it does involve vehicles to a certain extent, is far more an FPS related feature than it is a spaceship feature. We're going to focus the show, as we always try to do, on the stuff that is currently in active development and the features that folks are aware of and can play with right now, things like salvaging and mining and combat and stuff like that. A good example of this, there was a question about bounty hunting V2. For instance, there's a big question was voted up about how's Bounty Hunting V2 running along. Bounty Hunting V2 is actually not currently in active development. It's been backburned a bit because we've determined that there are other prerequisite features that are necessary to make it work. Things like restraints, a restraint system, quantum tracking, the ability to track people through quantum travel, FPS and ship scanning, we all know that needs additional work, and basically the law and security refactor. So when those things come online and those things are developed, then the eye of development Sauron will turn back to bounty hunting V2. So like this. So just a great example of how sometimes a thing is in active development, sometimes it becomes not in active development. And just a little bit of me at the top of the show wanting to discuss why we sometimes ask certain questions and why sometimes we don't ask certain questions. If we're not asking it and we're not talking about it, you can generally assume that it's not something that's currently in active development. And we'll get to those topics when we get closer to that time. Just a little bit from me. All right, so with that, let's...
Okay, Jared, but you raise yourself to a bigger problem. Dude, my question wasn't even about ship development or a career path. It was merely about what manufacturer you're moving on to after RSI. You're focusing on RSI right now with the Galaxy, Perseus, and Polaris, you know, the big RSI ships. What's your next big ship manufacturer? So I kind of feel a little slighted right now. Just a smidge, just a tinge slighted, kind of. So your little preamble strikes a little hollow, methinks, for myself. Sorry. Just how I feel, Jared. Anyways, continuing.
Let's start the show proper. We have four beautiful people, some of my favorite people, and Elliot Maltby joining us on the show this week. So let's get to meeting them. Sorry, I just had to... you know, Elliot, I'm sorry, you took the hit there, so we're going to start with you. Elliot, hi, say hi. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hello, I'm Elliot Maltby, and I am the lead mission designer on the mission design team. So I make all those missions that work perfectly for you, all of you.
And at no point do you sit in a corner during Beacon Belgium and just scroll through teams finding out what this mission is broken, that mission is broken, and
I don't get a rest. No. Just everyone constantly, hey, you know, your mission's broken. It's like, yep, I built it. I know it's broken. I do it on purpose.
Yep. Yogi, tell everybody who you are, what you do for Star Citizen. Unmute yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
I was muted, yeah. Hello. My name is Yogi. I'm a principal vehicle programmer, sorry. And I deal mostly with space combat and the flight experience. I'm somewhat of a link between Richard and Thorsten. And yeah, that's what I do. So I do coding and designy things, handle stuff like general flight model development, ESP, and stuff like that. So all these complaints when something is broken usually also go to me. Not mission related though.
Fair enough. I like that, the link between Richard and Thorsten. So let's go to Richard. Rich, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yes, I'm basically Richard Towler, and I'm the lead designer on the vehicle experience side. So it's balance, it's gameplay with vehicles, and basically working with Yogi and anyone else involved. It's balance, you know, the kind of general vehicle experience to make the vehicle gameplay good in Star Citizen.
And last but certainly not least, Thorsten, tell everybody who you are, what you do for Star Citizen.
Hello, I'm Thorsten. I'm lead systems designer and I complain a lot.
That is true.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. And of course, as you've seen, all of our major designers and programmers live in the Void, and we're so glad that you can join us from the Void this week to take questions. So just two top shelf questions before we get into all the questions from the backers this week. Yogi and Rich, Master Modes is finally this big thing. You work on a lot of things, but Master Modes, this enormous project of yours, is finally out in the wild with 323. How's that been? How's that going? How does that make you feel? Are you done? Are we walking away from it? Is this the last thing, or what happened here? How happy are we?
Well, so I posted about my feelings concerning master mods about a couple of weeks ago in Spectrum. So in general, I'm very happy with the progress and what we achieved, because the swapping to the master mode check meant that we had to update all the ships all in one bulk. So we could not really stretch this out to multiple releases, because our data system is not able to have like 2 different tuning values or 2 different ways of keeping tuning ships balanced at the same time. So we had to squish all the ships, and just to be clear, we have about 140 different ship records in the game. So we had to update them all and take the other related tech from Squadron, like the new aiming system, the ways how the weapons work, the gimbaling system, and so on, plus part of the UI updates, and squish this all into 323. Now we knew we knew before that this was like a pretty tough ask to do, because it's just a lot of work. So overall, I'm really happy with the progress. Of course, there's a couple of like, let's say, balance issues. There's a couple of balance offenders, of course, right? But it was kind of like, yeah, well, there's no, we don't need to, we don't need to say it's perfect. Like we never said it's going to be perfect on this release, right? But it builds a far better foundation from which we can iterate faster going forward. So beyond 323.
What about you, Rich?
Yeah, and that's basically where we're at. It's about moving towards the better foundation for the future of the game. So it's been really cool to get here. But for us, it's just the start of this. But it's been a really cool journey. I mean, this journey started for us, wow, like 3 years ago, Yogi, I think. It's about 3 years ago, maybe more than that now.
4 years.
Yeah.
I lost track of
Yeah.
time, really.
Not much yet, Brian. We're just now covering Star Citizen Live Q&A. By the way, they released a preamble of, we're sorry we didn't answer your questions last week, but we don't really care because it's not relevant, kind of thing. But the thing is, my question wasn't a win question or anything. It's just like, what are you moving on to after RSI? That's all I asked. And kind of irked me the way Jared kind of nonchalantly it off his shoulder, kind of. So, yeah, I get why they did it. Some of the stuff was, I'm just gonna brush it aside because it's a bunch of win questions, but actual questions of development, like, hey, what are you working on after RSI? What is the goal after RSI for ship development? That really should be a fairly straightforward thing to answer. You know what I mean? Just my opinion. I mean, I may be wrong.
So we got together and we looked at Star Citizen and went, right, what do we need to do, to make the combat experience good, but also the general flight experience good. And we came with lots of things, and Master Modes was kind of one of the ones that evolved kind of as the prominent feature that we were working on. And it's involved so many teams and so much feedback from, all across the studio. So it's been an effort, not just myself and Yogi, but lots of different teams, and lots of different people, that have worked on this over the time, that have been here. So it's been really good to see it out there. It's been a big push at last minute because, as Yogi said, we've got so many ships, and every single one of them had to be updated to make this work. So there's a couple of things that we didn't catch probably, but that was expected given how many records have changed in the game. But we believe it's a much better foundation, and we're excited for the feedback that's coming, as it's coming in, and also for the future as well, because it's going to evolve massively, over the next few releases.
And of course, we'll have more questions about master modes when we get to the combat section of today's Q&A. Before we jump into it, Torsten, Yogi, and Rich just had their big big child pushed out in the world. You're up next with engineering in 4.0. How are you feeling about your work?
Pretty excited, to be honest. So with all the work that we now are starting to put in, and next week we will reach a big milestone where we will just force everyone to use Resource Network in our game dev. branch. So yeah, will be quite exciting times going forward.
Okay. So, and of course, we'll have some more questions about engineering later on the show. Let's jump into the backer
We're
questions.
also going to
We've
cover
separated
the
the questions into a
Invictus
couple different
Q&A
sections for a
after
couple different
this,
gameplay
so
features and
stick
stuff.
around,
We're going to
folks.
start with an oldie, refueling. Refueling and rearming. We'll combine the two there. This question from the community simply says, how is rearming out in the field supposed to work? If we land our fighter in a Polaris, for instance, how do we restock?
So if you run ballistic ammunition, we will allow you to restock the ballistic ammunition. And the way that it will work is you will buy ammunition containers that then you will use to refill the pool of the ships that you either landed, or if you even have like a capital ship or a bigger ship, you will be able to put those boxes with the ammunition inside. Right now it's a dedicated slot, but it's subject to change, and then it will basically drag the ammunition out of it and then basically put it to the pool. One change that will come with that is that we will, so this is something that is coming sooner than later, which is we will unify the ammunition size. And that's just for the fact that we don't want to have you bespoke ammunition, for example, for your bearing Gatling, but we want you to share the ammunition between different weapons that share the same size of ammunition. For example, a size 3 Gatling uses the same round size as a size 2 repeater, and it uses the same size as a size 1 repeater, so you can plan your loadout accordingly if you just want to buy one type of ammunition for your ship.
And what about for things like bigger things like missiles and torpedoes?
Yeah, we already started with that, right? So the tractor beam.
Doesn't this sound like they're talking a lot more about the background economy and stuff going forward here? You know, things that are coming pretty soon down the pike here, chat. It does to me. Like specific ammunition, probably pricing. That way they can uniform things a little bit. Yeah.
Beam detach attach was the first step already for that. So the following steps are then having these, I think, I don't know if it was ever put out, the images of the, I might be leaking something now, but there's like we had those missile racks, that the mobile missile racks that you could push into vehicles. So these might also see the light of day at some point.
Yeah, no, I don't remember if we've shown those other, but that's been an idea that's been floating around development long enough that we can share that. Basically, the idea of storing missile racks inside your vehicles that you can then, when the ship lands in something like the Polaris, you just like go and reload and stuff like this. There's also, I have no idea if it's out yet or not, but Tyler will have a post on Spectrum later today concerning some of the weapons for the Retaliator and some of the missile counts for the Firebird. So I don't know what the details are specifically, but check that out. There's some improvements coming in a 3.23.1a patch or 2. Again, the specific.
So yeah, we're going to cover that as well, chat, when we can.
Specifics elude me right now, but but I know that the Firebird is getting more missiles than it currently has, and the Retaliator is getting bigger guns, I think. So
I'm going to pause right there. Brian brings up a good point. It has to be with 1.0 now on the coffee table for talks. What are you talking about, Brian? You know, asking serious questions about the direction of development, yes or no? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that comment you just made. Yes, exactly. That is completely a good point, because a lot of people need to consider that, you know? Normally I don't agree with a lot of people, but that is probably the most important thing I've agreed with in a long time with anybody. You know, thank you for that comment. that is very blunt, to the point, and it makes sense. So thank you for that. I'm also wondering, with the uniformity of ammunition, is this going to affect the Polaris's restock sooner or later? So we'll see.
Look out for that. If that hasn't posted on Spectrum yet, it'll post later. And then trust him for the details, not me. Are we likely to see missions for refueling?
Yeah, it's something we want to do. But it's not a simple thing to do. There's a lot of like downstream dependencies that we have to rely on for it. And there's a lot of edge cases, you know, if we're doing refueling and then you board the ship and, you know, kill the AI pilot and you've just got a free ship because you sat there like without any fuel. You know, these are sort of things we need to catch and protect against. We also need like a crazy amount of feedback for the player so that, you know, that they're like, right, I'm nearly full, or, you know, hey, I need some help, or, you know, maybe we do like, hey, here's the first version, it's just refueling, but then we have refueling, but you get pirated, you know, by some AI pirates. You know, the AI needs to be able to react and communicate with you as the player and sort of like tell you about the situation that's currently happening so you can sort of adapt appropriately. So long story short, yes, just probably not yet because we need a few more things.
Okay. What'd you do to Araka? Araka in chat says, please don't let this guy do missions. You got time, you got timed out by Knight Rider, but
go on, Knight Rider.
You making friends out there, Elliot?
Always. Everyone loves me.
While we're sitting here talking about missions, let's talk about mining missions. So refueling, obviously, something we want to do and stuff. But what about missions related to mining? Wow, the ability to speak. There it is. What about mining missions?
Mining missions, yes. I mean, yeah, we want them, and we're gonna have our first versions of them coming in hopefully soon, in the form of resource gathering. But these are going to be the first iteration, which we kind of call like open resource gathering. And this is the idea that like a mining outpost will go, I want, you know, 1,000 SCU of iron, and then that's all they say, and then you have to go out and collect it, you know, or I want 1,000 SCU of Quantanium, and you as a player can go mine it and transport it, or if you could purchase it from another player or a store, you do that, or you can pirate people for it and bring it in because they don't care where you've got it from, they just need that resource. So that'll be kind of like the idea of the first versions, and then later down the line we might get more specific with sort of resources that we want, where we're like, we want exactly this, you know, these mining things from this area because we have bought the sort of land claim there for those rocks.
And then there's all that talk about, we've talked before about how the mission system could potentially plug into like a quantum and stuff, and when a resource is needed, you know, for a particular station or something, it could generate a mission, you know, for that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is it's static because we have to pre-set up all of the data, but the idea is that it's all there. So when the sort of quanta star sim, whatever it's called, system comes and hooks in, it'll just take over and start generating these on its own and balancing these based on like the needs of the universe, and you know, it will react to what players are doing.
And that's not to say that missions are the only way. Like when these missions come online and stuff, and as there are more salvage missions and more mining missions, that's not the only way to make a living with those professions. That's just those are introductory things to draw people to the profession for the first time that maybe they hadn't considered before, and to supplement a little more directed initiatives to just the open sandbox stuff that you'll always be able to do.
Yeah, it's something that me and Thorsten have talked about a few times when it came to when Thorsten first released salvaging, you know, hull scraping. The gameplay came out, and then the missions were a way to help expose it to new people so they could see the gameplay and find the things a bit quicker. So it's a nice way to sort of show you to the world, and then let the systemic nature of the universe and let the, you know, the actual cost of doing it yourself without a mission come into play when you get more advanced at it.
I'm going to do one more mission question since we just happen to be on here. are there plans for more robust missions that cross disciplines? For instance, in here it says it starts off as a mining job, then turns into a repair job, so that you can then do a salvage job and then transport this, whatever, yada yada yada. I guess the Overdrive was the first kind of beginnings of that multidiscipline kind of stuff.
Yeah, we definitely want multi.
War on Charon 3, please. Single time, the outcome decides the fate of an entire planet. Do we side with the Empire or it become independent? Choose your side. Make your mark on history. Now that sounds like fun.
Discipline things. What we're doing is we're building, because obviously, as I might have mentioned a few times, I build missions modularly. So we build a load of base sort of modules. So with our resource gathering and our salvage things, the idea is that when we get enough of them, we'll start stitching bits of them together. So you might have a mission where you've got to take out a bounty, and then you've got to hull scrape him, and then maybe you've got to steal his component. Then you've got to, like, someone wants that component, so you get another objective, like deliver that component to this person. And we plan to have missions that take you through multiple bits of gameplay, but all in one mission. But right now our focus is creating the baseline of all sort of generic type missions that we can think of. So the idea with that is that if we build them, they can then scale out to, you know, all the systems that we have planned, and it's easier to get a wide spread of content before we start building into our bespoke sort of things.
Okay. And while we're still talking profession stuff, Torsten, maybe. Any thoughts about making power plants burn fuel? With abandoned ships keeping their shields forever, this would be a nice way to address that for salvaging and the like.
Yes, power plants will consume fuel in the future. So it's not. It has been a plan for quite some time already, and we are now looking into when is the perfect time actually to release it. It's not with 4.0, so it's not with the initial release of the resource network, but it will come at a later point then. And the goal there is then that the power plants will consume hydrogen fuel. So it's used for the thrusters and the power plants. And the reason is because power generators right now create energy out of thin air, and especially when we go forward to base building.
See, this is actually a change that makes sense. In the real world, engines, batteries run on stored electrical power. Nuclear power plants run on fuel rods. Hydrogen fusion runs on fusion power. Well, in theory. Solar power runs on the sun, or photons from the sun. Wind power, the movement of air through the blades turns the turbine. Hydroelectric power, stuff like that. Of course, there's going to be fuel for power plants. It makes sense. I mean, there are other games that do this. So we knew it would be a matter of time before our ships became a lot more of a more upkeep friendly-ish, I guess. Would that be the key? We knew this was coming, chat. We did. A lot of us, though, have pretended like we would have magic engines powering the ship forever. But even in the future, I would assume a fusion reactor would power your ship. You know, and you still need hydrogen. Fuel scoops might be able to pull in fuel, but what if you're in a hydrogen poor area? You might need to refuel, right? Just saying. Okay, back to the commentary.
We can't do that anymore, so we need a resource that is actually consumed over time. And the benefit is then in that scenario that is described in that question is once your fuel runs out, once your battery is depleted, all the systems on that ship will then slowly die, and you will be able to enter that ship without any shields anymore, but also without any life support.
Nice. Okay. Let's move on to combat. We have quite a few combat-related questions here. I'll just start off with the big one. In addition to the opening, we'll often take a bunch of questions and just combine them and stuff. This was really about 7 different questions I'm going to combine into one here. Is balance possible? Like you mentioned 140 ship records for master modes. Is this a pipe dream? Is balance actually an attainable thing?
It's not a pipe dream at all. So yes, we had 140 records, and we did a very quick weapon tuning pass and a little bit of a health pass for some components and ships. But we're also getting a huge amount of data from the players actually playing that stuff. Internally, when we develop stuff, it's sometimes hard to judge whether or not we reach the right balance because we have a vast array of ships and items and all that. But when you watch player playing it, then you get an idea what's happening. That said, as I said, like the current pass that we have on the balance should not be treated as this is now the final product thing. It's really just a stepping stone because it just sets a little bit the stage for the vastly bigger changes that are coming to in terms of like to 4.0 and beyond. Because there will be new gameplay loops and so on.
I think a huge step we took right now is actually that we set our intentions very straight, right? So we know exactly what we want to achieve, and now we actually look for the data sets inside, like what players are actually experiencing right now, and we use these observations to improve the balance even more.
What you got, Rich?
Yeah, on the overall question, is balance even possible? Do we want balance? As in, do we want everything to be balanced? Because the kind of nature of balance is the imbalance. That makes sense for me. Because we've got to capture all the unique characteristics of the ships, and that throws them off in all different kind of different kind of directions. And we've got to capture that balance to make sure that within the game context, the ship fits within the game, but every ship needs to feel different and offer different things and have different character to them. So that's kind of the complex nature of balance. And then we have to balance the game with the other features that affect flight. So basically, as Jürgen said, this is the starting point of the rebalance of the game. But then, with 4.0, it's going to evolve massively. With the engineering gameplay, it's going to have a significant impact on how the ships are in the game. So we're going to kind of reset again there, and then we're going to look at the data to see if we're delivering the gameplay we intend. So it's a juggling act, and it doesn't really ever end with a game like Star Citizen because the game, it's a live product. It's out there, it's evolving, we're adding features, we're changing things all the time. So, from my side, the balance is, it's not something that will ever be finished. It's an evolving thing. It's a living, breathing thing that exists in the game currently, and will carry on to evolve. And
which is true for any MMO, any online game, right?
Yeah.
We were talking. I won't begin to try to pronounce his name. The main guy in charge of Smash had an interview this week or last week where he said he talked about their internal numbers about how the most successful fighter in all of Smash Brothers had like a 51% win rate, and the least successful fighter had a 46% win rate. So it was really only about a 5% difference there. And Torsten, you mentioned that he had a YouTube channel where he talks about design and stuff.
Yeah, it's basically he talked about like if you have a fully balanced game, it's basically everything is average, and average is boring generally. So you always tend to do, if you do balancing, there's always a peak up or a peak down. So it's more interesting for players.
Yeah,
worth watching, by the way.
Yeah, it was like the best characters were 51, the worst characters were 45. Elliot Maltby was like 38.
Swear to God, you can't even pronounce his name. Come on. This guy built my childhood.
But yeah, so I think the moral of that story is Elliot is bad, and balance is an ongoing thing that never ends, but you never want to make it too homogenous. There will always be some level of intentional imbalance because, like life, that's what makes it enjoyable and interesting. We couldn't talk much about the bounty hunting V2 thing, but a lot of that's ship related has to do with non-lethal damage. So let's talk about non-lethal damage. Can you give us an update on things like EMP, distortion?
For the record, the individual they were trying to mention was Masahiro Sakurai. Good grief, people. Learn to spell.
Overall ship disabling, anything involved in not destroying another ship.
Torsten, maybe you take that because that's highly related to resource network. So
I thought you wanted to talk about like EMP and stuff, but okay.
no, I mean it's like it's similar. So the big question, the big picture hasn't really changed, but there will be some specific details with like software that Torsten will talk about in 2 seconds. Now.
Yeah, so we still keep all the weapon counters, that is distortion, that is EMP and stuff like that, where you can deactivate a ship, but like for EMP, you first have to bring the shield down, so there's some work that comes with it in front. For distortion, we already mentioned it. I think it's on the roadmap now with a multi-tool that you will be able to counter distortion. So that's something that we were missing before, that distortion damage has actually a valid counter. So you are not only a sitting duck when you get fully distorted by someone else, you will be able to drain that. So you will be able to make your ship work again. But I think the biggest change that will come with 4.0 is the change to soft death. I don't know if all of you already played the Arena Commander experimental mode, but that already gives a hint at what we are aiming for. So right now, also in 3.23 live, also in 3.23.1 live, if you shoot a ship, if the ship reaches health 0, it will explode or it will go into the soft death state. Yeah, we are right now actively discussing how we want to change that. So we have already some ideas. One of the big ideas is tied actually to the health or the life of the power plant, and yeah, give also players a way to maybe fix or escape the soft death scenario there. But this is, as said, still an active discussion, but the goal is to have it come with everything resource network related for 4.0.
And of course, we talked about this in ISC, but the experimental modes for this season in Arena Commander have to do with, tuning time to kill and stuff on a lot of these ships.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Yeah, it's a huge effort right now that we are going through, which is like, I don't know if we had heavy iterations time, especially in the beginning of the 3.23 cycle, where we had it wrong, had it even more wrong. And then at some point we were heading into a direction we were seeing suddenly the time to kill times being in the ballpark area of where we want to see them. We are still not fully there yet, so we are still improving it, especially like it gets really complicated because some ships are, in some ships it's easier to destroy crucial components versus others, but yeah, we are working on a solution for that.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got somebody in chat, Suburbanite 1001 says, I've lost all excitement for this game just about a decade ago, but he's still here.
It's a different.
Honestly, why are you still here, Suburbanite? Go away.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging in there, Suburbanite. Just more. Okay, so here's a question, Elliot. Would you please make a clear distinction between vehicle-based combat missions and FPS ones? Is that something we even want to do? Do we want to mix them up? They're asking for it.
No, I won't. No, I'm joking. We're gonna add in the future when we redo the contract manager app. We're gonna add a sort of section where you can see the sort of gameplay you're going to encounter. So it'd say things like you know, maybe you need a multi-tool. Maybe you're going to come up against, maybe you're going to need like FPS weapons. Maybe you're going to need like a powerful ship. There'll be like a section where you can see what it is. And the reason that we don't currently make a distinction between the two is because the idea is that in the future, like your bounty that you're hunting might be above like a bunker, but then he might land and go inside, and then you've got to infiltrate and fight them. There's a whole bunch of different things that we want to happen. So therefore we don't want to make a clear distinction when there might be why there might be none. You know, you might get there, start attacking them, and then they get in their ship and take off, and you've got to transition from ground to space-based combat. You know, there's
too clear
potential for change.
We don't want to make too clear a distinction.
Exactly.
I like what you're saying. It's like we could give you expectations. The mission giver expects it to be primarily this or primarily that, but I think it's important to leave room for the element of surprise, not just from the story of your mission team and the narrative and stuff, but the surprises of the other backers, the other players in the verse.
Exactly. It takes like influence from real life. You know, you take a job and they're like, hey, this is what you're applying for. You're only going to do this. And 90% of the time you start and you're like, they give you so much other shit to do at the same time. So
no, I think that's good. I think that's a reasonable expectation, and I think it'll help people a lot. You know, we expect it to be primarily this, but the verse is the verse.
And no hand-holding.
No hand-holding.
No hand-holding.
Why nerf a call to arms payout when it was already so meager? Which mission is call to arms? What am I?
It's internally it's called Sandbox Criminal Kills. It's the one that just gives you money for killing people with crime stats.
Right. Okay.
Players seem to always just want money. So I know, right? We are reactive. We try to be reactive.
Cool, guys. So come on.
We look at them and we see if they're earning too much.
That was already bad.
You know, earning way too much than we like. We, take it back a bit. But now we have the economy team. They're actually helping with this. So they've actually rebalanced this again. So hopefully for the next patch, you'll see a change in the call to arms payment, because before call to arms was literally balanced by the mission team. And balancing UEC for our economy, obviously the reason we have a dedicated team is because it's so big. Like a funny example, kind of funny, one of the big reasons that we had to wipe UEC is because of my team, and I'll take sole blame because I submitted it. I accidentally managed to make it so that people had earned 4 billion UEC just from salvage missions. And the economy team, when they found out, wasn't very happy with me. But that's because numbers are absolutely insanity to try and balance. So,
Fiercely, and several people in chat are like, "Did you just ask what is call to arms?" Yeah, sometimes when I'm on live internet and there's a bunch of lights and constantly running 5 different calculations on how not to say the wrong thing because people will take it to Reddit, sometimes I say the wrong thing and I forget what a thing is called. It happens. Thanks for worrying about me, though. All right, Yogi. You knew this was coming. How's Master Modes going, and what happens next? Will there be changes?
Oh, changes, yes, of course. I mean, the how is it doing right now? It's better than what we had in live on 3.2 before. In terms of like how successful the change was so far, I think it's pretty positive. I mean, I can't exactly say exact numbers, but the relationships of kill-death ratios on all ships, for example, they have flattened out a lot. A lot of the times in the past, we always had 1 or 2 ships which basically were responsible for most of the kills in the game, and that's not the case anymore. We also have more players with, let's say, more diverse levels of flying and combat skills enjoying the game more. So I would count that as a win. But there is a huge amount of stuff that is on our list to do. There's
Hey, Brian, can you share the good luck with me? I'm almost totally broke. I'm almost totally broke, man. That would be nice if you would share some of the loot with me. I only have 51,000 credits, man. Come on. Come on.
like typical examples like ESP needs to be improved. The 1v1 dogfighting needs to be improved. There's also a couple of things we want to try out with the flight model, like using an egg-shaped velocity space to combat the backstrafing problem. Whether that works or not, we'll see. There's in general, we want to improve the combat distances a bit. There will be more stuff happening with the 4.0 tuning patch concerning weapon speeds that also might help with the distances. And there's a couple of bugs like the camera shaking sometimes is inconsistent. The G4 zoom effects are sometimes inconsistent. And of course, there are like a couple of ships that feel out of whack. One of the Hornets can at the moment pull 35 Gs upwards. That is, of course, not intended. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. But as I said, like it's like overall, I'm pretty happy with the current progress. Is it the final state? Of course not. But there will be more stuff happening, especially with the resource network that will come towards, because of course these new feature sets also require some changes in the flight model or the way we target certain parts of the ships.
How about you, Rich?
Yeah, I said, I can echo, kind of Jürgen's comments that, we're personally really happy with how it's gone. There's definitely going to be more changes. A big challenge for Masterwords for us in terms of release was just how much around Masterwords changed. So it wasn't just adding Masterwords to the game. This was fundamentally, making some big changes to the aiming system and the, kind of flight model itself as well. So we had a lot of changes going in that went just to Masterwords. This was quite hard to manage.
For a while, Brian, I was Loot Goblining as well. So yeah, I totally understand. Makes sense.
But that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun in games working on this is, we're always trying to improve things, always trying to change things for the better. And, we're going to carry on listening to the feedback from the players, and also looking at the data as well, because that's a big part for us is we need to back up what, we basically need to be accountable for what we're doing. So, any changes we make, we've got to be able to prove them that they're actually having the impact in the game that, that we intended. So that's going to be a big part of moving forward with general balance. But yeah, there's going to be lots more. There's going to be lots more changes. We're going to fix up some of the ships because we definitely missed some of the ships. For various reasons. We changed a lot of ships, and there's some ships that inherit certain records from the ships. Sometimes that can catch us out a little bit. But we're basically working on identifying those ships, which we are in the process of doing, and we'll fix those up. And then we'll move towards 4.0 as well, where we basically expect another round of big changes to the balance as well.
So like any other feature, I mean, obviously since the PU first opened up in 2.0 back in December 2015, we're now in 2024. Obviously, there's not a single thing that's gone in that hasn't changed, that hasn't evolved, that hasn't continued to iterate since its first release. Master Modes is no different. It will continue to evolve, it'll continue to iterate, they'll continue to look at your feedback and process your feedback and apply where they think it's necessary and relevant and proper. And of course, fixing all the bugs and stuff like that. Speaking of bugs, chat has been asking about the dupe bug. Yes, the dupe bug is super duper annoying. All I can tell you right now, because I'm sitting here live doing a show and I'm not plugged into everything else at the moment, is that we have a fix internally. It's working on internal builds, and that fix will go out in a point patch. I don't know if it'll be 0.3 or it'll be a 0.2b or whatever. Like they're still working that out, how that's going to be distributed.
I kind of knew that would happen.
It's working internally, and it will go out as soon as everything aligns to allow it to work out. As far as anything else around that, I know there's a bunch of subsequent questions. I don't have the answers for those ones, so hang tight. It's coming. Looking at these questions here. Racing. Does racing have any future? That's what the question.
I would say yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course it has a future. Well, sure. There's like, I mean,
We gotta
Truly
sound more
master-
confident, guys. Come on.
No,
Yeah,
okay,
racing's
fine.
got a
Yes,
future.
Racing.
Wow.
Racing has a future. But really, it's about. I mean, like the master mode tuning patch. Of course, affected the current racing tracks that there are, right? Like the speeds got a lot slower and so on. And so some of the tracks we have right now, they might not work as they do now. But the level design team, for example, they also asked, hey, should we adapt the racing tracks now? And we were like, we're not completely done with our master mode changes or with the flight model development. So maybe hold off for like doing extensive changes for a while. But racing, like, I mean, we're still racing ships. So of course we invested into racing. Actually, one of the specifically for the racing from the racing community, we added something to the flight model back then that was addressing the lack of certain acceleration when you're not using digital input devices and so on, right? So yes, racing is important, and we're not. Oh Jesus, what the hell? So racing is really important to us. And actually, today I got a question from Knebel, who was one of the German podcasters, YouTube streamers. Actually, don't know. He asked if we could add smoke pods to racing ships. I have not discussed it with anyone, but I think the idea is really, really great. Just putting this out there. Rich, say more about racing.
Definitely got a future, you know, because I come from a racing background. You know, I've done a lot of sim racing, and I'm a big fan of racing in real life. So, you know, and that's the key thing with Masterwords is it's going to allow us in the future to kind of give more freedom to allow the racing variants to excel at racing, and that's something we're really keen for. Because one of the issues we've had in the past is it's balancing the combat experience with the flight experience and the racing experience.
Yeah, the Reclaimer is kind of one of those ships that, with the flight model changes, you definitely need to guard it because it's hard to get it out of an area, especially at gravity well, pretty easily nowadays. I mean, due to the flight model changes, it's basically a sitting duck if it gets torqued, you know. So, true, it's got some good armor and stuff like that, but that's only if you can get a bead on the enemy. Otherwise, it's just a big freaking target, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it's a good salvager, but, you know, it's not meant for head-to-head combat. I think they're starting to settle more ships into roles. You know, given roles. We'll see how this all pans out going forward.
If you have a really good racing ship that can use all its guns at the same time and everything, it can suddenly be the dominant force in combat, which is probably not intentional. So we're looking at ways where we can balance that, so we can have racing ships be like the best handling ships or the fastest in a straight line, and then basically, you know, as Yogi said, it's about the tracks as well, you know, because the tracks are where you're racing. So it's important. It's important that they're designed around the current flight model, you know. And as we've made a lot of changes, we need to now take a step back and look at what tracks are going to make the most out of the handling that we now have in the game.
Gotcha. Starbucksy in chat says, Jared, is this live? Unfortunately. No, no. I think it's always good to remind people racing is super important. There's a lot of folks here. I know, Rich, you had a question whether you could even make this show because you were going to head off to a race this weekend and stuff, and you didn't know if you could be here and stuff. I mean, so many people on the vehicle team and just development in general are so big into racing and stuff. I think it's very close to a lot of our hearts. Just to sum back up. We got to figure out the master mode stuff before we spend a whole lot of time doing it. But I would not bet on I don't know what was I trying to say. I would just bet that there's enough people here who like racing and enjoy racing and love racing that it's time in the development sun, when the development Eye of Sauron, will return to it, that it'll get a lot of love and attention. I still personally, just speaking for myself, and Yogi, you might know where I'm going with this, I still hope for a racing master mode personally.
Well, I think the easiest, I wouldn't go for racing master mode because racing, if you want to go quickly from A to B, this is what navigation mode is for, right? But we should absolutely do something like a racing operator mode where the head-up display clears with racing specific information. We actually have a stopwatch on the HUD. I'm not sure if players know about this, but this is, for example, something that we should then just have on by default, or having a bigger, I don't know, like a bigger TVI and giving you expected deceleration times directly into view and stuff like that. That's stuff that's important for the racing experience itself.
Well, that's why I'm not a designer and a programmer.
There's
What I like.
on the mission side for racing. Also, real quick, I'd like to point out Rich is being incredibly modest. Rich, aren't you like a champion iRacer? Like
it was a long time ago. I can't remember anymore.
There you go. So, yeah, a champion iRacer. So there you go. For missions, we're in the PU. It can be a bit difficult to do racing missions compared to AC because we have the respawn flow set out for us, so it can take you quite a long time to get back to the racetrack where you want to do your races. So we're investigating ways we can speed that up. I don't want to speak to any specifics because they might change. One thing we are doing is we're going to be adding open track versions of the current racing missions that we have. Because currently how you unlock the next racetrack is via completing the first one. So what we're going to do is just give out you don't get a reward, you don't pay a buy-in, here's access to the track. We'll time you like we do in the mission as it is, but it's just so you can keep practicing. And then going forward, we'll have more advanced races, but races aren't just in ships, they're in ground vehicles. We have the Daymar Rally that the community do, and that's a lot of fun, but they can also extend to on foot races. And recently we prototyped a race, time trial race in the escape route of the prison, where we time players who could get out the fastest and then award them like merits for whoever got out the fastest.
That's awesome.
We didn't feel like it fully fit, so we've just kind of like, we can do it, and maybe in the future you'll see it somewhere in the game. But yeah, it was a lot of fun because we tried to be sort of suggestive with the direction. So if you didn't know the escape route, you could really mess your time up.
I do. Well, you mentioned the Daymar Rally. I think that's as good a transition as any to one of Rich's favorite topics, ground vehicles. You ready, Rich?
Always. I love ground vehicles.
Why do the tanks suck?
Well, unfortunately, this is one of the problems with changing so much, is we got caught out by a change on the back end of the game, and this had a negative impact on the tank handling, and we just couldn't quite get it fixed in time for the release. It was quite a complicated problem. It was quite an interesting problem as well. I'm not going to go too much into the details, but I can confirm it is now fixed, and the tank is now a tank. Well, both tanks are driving like tanks again, which is really good.
The tanks are fixed internally, not publicly.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, we've discovered the error, we fixed it. It's gone into our builds, and that'll make its way out there.
All right. So what's with all the other wheeled vehicles that are sliding and sometimes bouncing around all the time? My poor gameplay guys were trying to film the Ursa Medevac for ISC, and they're like, is it supposed to have like hydraulic bounce?
Yeah, unfortunately, that was another change that wasn't really caught in time to fix, but it has, it's also been fixed. So, so basically, the vehicle you saw as a player was actually the server vehicle and not the actual player vehicle in the player physics. So it caused a lot of glitching, but we've corrected that, and the ground vehicles are now back to being fairly stable ground vehicles. And it's fair to say, we're still looking at improving the general ground vehicle experience to make it as good as ships, because it should be. They're all vehicles in the game, and all vehicles should be up to the same standards. So we still, we're definitely looking at improving the ground vehicle experience still. But we're pretty happy with the kind of major physics overhaul that went through with it. We just need to make it a little bit more game friendly, for our environments, which are massive planets with loads of different terrains.
I get you. Loading in chat says, Jared, I beg you, do you have any plans for the cluttered UI problem? These aren't the UI guys, Loading, but yes. We was witnessing a big chat with Simon and Bone and CR just yesterday in our big creative and technical directors chat and stuff. We're aware. It's been a forever thing. So I have no information to give you. That was just them talking about potential solutions yesterday. So I don't know where they're going with it. But yes, but these aren't the guys. And I just. What happened to Gravlivs recently? This question says that they've fallen into a bad state that they had previously before their last rework, where sometimes they just decide to stop hovering, fall down, and explode.
This one, we're not quite sure. It's actually we got reports about this like midweek, and we started to do our own investigations across different teams to figure out what's going on, because we've changed some of the stuff in the handling, but the backend technology hasn't changed. But again, with a game like Star Citizen, the fundamental game engine is updating all the time, and there can be kind of negative consequences on completely different features because it might use a piece of some of the game part which works a certain way, which now works a different way, and that could have an impact. So it's about figuring out where it's gone wrong, because we're definitely not happy with the overall kind of Gravlov experience, and we're definitely looking at improving it. Because that's another key part of racing as well, because the Gravlov racing can actually be really cool. When it works really well, it's probably one of the cooler race experiences in the game. So we're definitely looking at what's gone wrong in 3.23 for Gravlov.
Yeah, the chat's talking about how basically sometimes it flips over and you hit your head on the ground and falls down and stuff. So it's, like I said, we're looking into it. It could be everything from a networking issue to anything else. I imagine when we find something more, we'll communicate it. That said, I like this next question. Star Citizen is a lot of things. It's PvP, it's PvE, it's FPS, it's spaceships, it's stuff like that. It's sandbox, it's chain missions and stuff like this. Ground vehicles can sometimes seem like an afterthought, or just like an also-ran. So this question simply says, what are you doing to encourage ground vehicle usage? Are there any specific new mission types for this, maybe?
So there's been lots of discussions about ground vehicles in our game and how we use them on the mission side. The main thing we face is that when we balance a mission and balance the economy, time is a huge factor in it. And if you can do it in a ground vehicle, you can do it in a ship a hell of a lot faster. So it becomes this thing where we try to make an experience around ground vehicles, but then people just do it quicker in a ship. So then we have to lower the price to not break the economy, and then people just stop doing the mission. We want to add a benefit. We want to add a reason for people to actually use ground vehicles. Recently, like in the distribution centers, there's massive like gas spheres, and the ground turrets will shoot at spaceships, but they won't shoot at ground vehicles. So we've seen some players using the tonks to destroy them, so that they don't have as much resistance. But we also we need some tools or features that help us encourage it. A recent thing that we was investigating for ground vehicles was to do with the copions that just got added to the game. We was having a debate about how we discover them, how the player discovers them. And one of the sort of discussions that we came upon was that maybe the ground vehicle radar would be the only thing that could find these copions, so that if you wanted to do the mission, you'd have to land, take your ground vehicle out and use that to try and locate the copions. But we wasn't really happy with that, so we've kind of thrown it out. But yeah, we're always looking for new ways and how we can encourage it. And me and Thorsten have been talking about ways that we could do it. So I'll hand over to Thorsten because I'm sure he's got
I actually wanted to say, there are some things that we already started discussing, and that is, I think, one of the most important parts is that environment matter, right? So depending on what environment the mission takes place in, it might be worth bringing your ship or your ground vehicle, or even going by foot. So for example, we already have the case where you have to enter a cave and you cannot fly in. We have some where you can fly in, we have some where a ground vehicle also fits in, but in general, if you have a cave mission, the way to go into that cave is by foot. But we want to expand on that in the future, and we don't only want to expand on that by how the environment looks. So, for example, a vast forest, you cannot land with your ship, but you can drive into it with your ground vehicle. But we also want to utilize the weather conditions, for example, right? So a strong wind, for example, will block your ship from actually landing safely. So it's better to be outside of that strong wind area and drop the ground vehicle and then avoid the strong wind by driving in with your ground vehicle. Or with Pyro, you might have already seen it in the CitizenCon demos with the solar flare. When your ship gets hit by a solar flare, it basically drops down because it's turned off. So this is also like the dropping from the sky is something that you would avoid when you would have come with a ground vehicle in that situation. But there are also other things that are related to the weather, like limited sight. It's better or it's safer to go with a ground vehicle versus a spaceship and stuff like that. So there are plenty of scenarios that we are currently investigating what we can do to actually make ground vehicles more like usable or like even required for missions.
Cool. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left in the show. We might go a few minutes over because I want to talk about our last topic here, engineering. Obviously, engineering. Everybody's rightfully excited for 4.0, Pyro, and all that stuff, and you should be. For me, we've been talking about engineering so long. You know my feelings on engineering. That's where the birth of multi-crew stuff comes from. So that's my big thing. Before we get to these questions, let's revisit the scope. What should people expect from engineering in 4.0?
So as of now, for 4.0, let's start with life support. So we will have life support that has the fire system in it. So life support is also a valid counter for fire that you will see on your ships. We will have room propagation, so you opening it.
Hey, don't forget, we just got modules with the Retaliator, Brian. Welcome back, by the way. And yeah, I withhold asking crazy questions, But yeah, I understand. I completely understand. Totally understand. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah. I'm glad you're hanging around. It makes my chat a little more fun. It's kind of slow today. That's okay, though. Tomorrow will be Drake Day, the final countdown, yeah. Oops, where'd everybody go? Oh, I forgot.
A door to the outside will basically evacuate all the atmosphere of your ship to the outside. We have atmosphere maintenance, where you as the player are responsible for making sure that your life support generator runs well enough so that there's enough breathable atmosphere inside the rooms. And yeah, as already said, so the life support generator is a new item that we will introduce, and the life support generator.
Dude. I want to know how much the Big'em Drake'em ship is. I want to know how much that big Drake ship is. So badly. That big Drake ship is entirely what I want to know how much the price is. Is it similar in cost to the Kraken, or is it cheaper? I'm hoping, praying it's cheaper than the Kraken, because that would mean it's so much easier to get, And at the same time, it'll be easier to grab, take, and, deal with. Yeah. Do I have to sell one kidney or two? That's funny. You got a point. You do have a point. Do I need to sell one kidney or two? I'm confused, chat. Maybe three? Two? Well, you wouldn't be human at that point, but yeah. La da 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 da. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yesterday was actually a pretty good stream. It just may not have counted up yet. So, yeah.
Later, then we do create a new resource. That is so right now it's still called life support resource. Like, we are really creative with names. There's a filter that is also a new item that is added as the consumable for the life support generator. And yeah, that's just the life support segment of the resource network release. Talking about engineering, here we have the power management that will be introduced. You were not able to see it yet in the Arena Commander mode because we were not ready yet. So especially UI is still a lot of work on us that we need, because we need to get it right. It needs to be accessible. It cannot be like this high scientific method of you basically measuring the joules that the power plant. No, we have to make it accessible for the general play audience, but still interesting for those that are really interested in those engineering mechanics. Then we will introduce the relays as the connection point between the items with the fuses. So these are already things that you even see in live in some of the ships that are already prepared. So for example, the Retaliator already has the relay boxes with the fuses inside. And in the Arena Commander experimental mode, you can actually witness their functionality. A huge thing for it is, so that's more on our side. So on the design side is the rebalance of items again. So, but we as already mentioned, we have now, with all the pre-work that has been done for 323, we have a very clear goal of what we want to achieve here, and that is we want to really
just a
facilitate
second,
like the items inside the resource network. So items should be more meaningful in ships. So we have
Hang on just a second, chat. I thought my brother was talking to nobody.
have a meaningful difference between item classes, for example, where there's a huge difference on the look and feel in terms of gameplay for the civilian and military components, as well as the grades. So this is our internal high goal for the release, that we have a meaningful difference there, so that players' choice actually matters here. And also what we want to achieve here is that it's clearer, the differences, so players understand what's the difference between a civilian and an industrial item more easily, and it's very clear to players what to pick for the journey they want to take. Something that, sadly I had a discussion yesterday, will not make it for 4.0 so as of now is the batteries. So we might push the batteries to a later release. Doesn't mean that they won't come. It just means they come at a later point, because we want to, this is it's such a crucial feature and we need to get it right. And every time that we can spend on polish is better invested than actually forcing additional features in. So we rather would like to spend time in polishing the feature and then just making sure that everything is in. I think no one would like that everything is in there and it's not working or it's not working well enough. That's the best safe phrasing I could come up with.
I hear you, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Obviously, when ISC comes back in about a month, one of the stories we'll be telling on our journey to 4.0 will be another revisiting of engineering and life support and stuff like that, and you'll get to see how it's all, working laid out there. So,
shall I continue? Because I'm not done.
Okay.
So there's more. There's more and that is a simple repair. So we have the repair of ship items that you also can already witness in the Arena Commander experimental mode, exchange of fuses, exchange of broken items. And we mentioned that at the beginning of this show that there's now a distortion counter, and that basically leads to the last bit that we will introduce with the resource network engineering gameplay, which is malfunctions. So here we will start with 3 malfunctions. So the initial release will come with those 3, which is the fire, damage to the item, and distortion to the item, because we now have dedicated counters to them, so that we can actually introduce meaningful gameplay and you're not just suffering from whatever malfunction the item will suffer from. But we made sure that the malfunction system is so vast that if we notice that those 3 are not enough yet, that in the later patch or in later releases, we can add more bespoke malfunctions, so we can slowly widen the gameplay. Because I can tell you, it's already quite a lot that you have to manage and learn. So it will be fun, but it will be also a huge learning curve that some of us have to go through.
Oh, cool. That sounds great.
Great.
I would like it known that through all these episodes this year and the previous years, I saw some folks giving me credit for asking hard questions or whatever. These people are willing to show up every week, and they're willing to take the hard questions and my dumb bullshit like I just did. And
it's my day off.
Yeah. So it's just whatever praise you guys ever give to me, I pass it on through to the developers who appear on ISC and SEL. Especially, just Torsten was a great example of that, where it's like, no, I got more I want to share. And it's like, man, I love that shit. I love that. And yeah, this is my med pen. I tried to stow it, but it keeps reappearing in my hand. It's an old bug.
Torsten.
That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching our Invictus All Vehicles gameplay SEL. If you haven't checked it out, look at yesterday's ISC, where we revealed the brand new Iron Chad from Drake Interplanetary, and got a look inside the current gray box progress of the RSI Polaris. They're both really, really, really cool looking, and I'm really excited to get both of them in the game as soon as possible. We're on hiatus. So we're gonna take a few weeks off from ISC, a few weeks off of publishing. We'll be filming and recording and creating all the great stories for 4.0. We don't get any time off, and SEO will take next week off because I have a doctor's appointment on the same day. Health's important, but we'll be back with SEO in 2 weeks. Until then, thank you again to Torsten, to Elliot, to Rich, to Yogi, and of course to everybody who always appears on these shows. Like I said, can't do it without you. I think we're going to do a raid thing, probably do a raid thing, because it's, you know, they like to do the raid thing. So community folks, if you're watching, you can start the raid thing. Thanks for watching. I really like my job, and you guys make it possible. So thank you for that. And this is a cool med pen. Also, I got a blue one too. I need it to.
Okay, chat, we're going to check something. And we're going to go to my hangar. Watch this. Now, they said there was some updated information for a couple of things. Hold on. Before we jump back into the game for a little bit, there's a Q&A, as well as some information on the Caterpillar that just got updated. Brian, get this, and the Firebird and Retaliator. Which one should I start with, chat? Firebird or Caterpillar? Firebird, Caterpillar. Which one? What do you want to hear? I'm open to ideas. Who wants to read what first? Cat. Okay. Caterpillar first. Okie dokie. So, Caterpillar, we're going to go here. They asked the question of digital. Okay, I'm going to like this because it was something I wanted to know. Yeah, I was wondering about this. Only reason I still have a Caterpillar right now is as the modularity shown in the past. It would be great to have an update on this. I know it won't be anytime soon on the dev of it, but give us an update to say if it's a thing or not. Okay, John Crew, Brian, the man himself, gave a response. Look at this right here. Still plan to let you swap out individual pods. No further details with what pods modules at this time. It's likely we'll also make it so it is straight swapping rather than creating stubby pillars or infinite length pillars. Okay. So they're going to be limited probably by the size of the framework of the ship. Is that what I'm getting at, Brian? Kind of? That's what it sounds like to me. You know, like they're kind of limiting it to a certain length. I'm okay with that. Keep it believable, but still multi-purpose, right? In my opinion. What do you think of this? Brian? You think it's good that they still intend to continue with the modularity? I do. I like the idea. I'm glad they're still keeping this ship modular in its design, but I have so many questions. What about the Carrack or the Redeemer, which has a small internal cargo? I think the Redeemer might be more of a plug-in system, kind of like the Galaxy. The Galaxy is a ship built around a modular room, so it might have small modules you can buy. That's what I remember about the Redeemer. The Retaliator is similar to the Redeemer. They're both Aegis ships after all, so they have like plug-in stuff. It really, well, I think that might be part, honestly, Brian, I think this may be hinting at a gold standard pass in general. of the, what do you call it? Caterpillar. They kind of mentioned it a little bit yesterday with the, what do you call it? The other ship, you know, the bigger, the Caterpillar, you know? They kind of mentioned it earlier. Does that make sense? Yeah, they kind of did. It's not just a fluke thing. I guess we'll learn. She does, doesn't she, Brian? The old girl needs some help, I admit. It's been so long. I mean, it's going to be in the same vein as the 600i. I know you feel my pain. That's kind of why I didn't keep my Caterpillar. I wish I had. I might reconsider it due to modularity in general, but we'll see. Tomorrow, I only have enough probably for the big ship, not the Caterpillar itself. But there's always other days, you know. Just saying. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to move on briefly to... Is this a mega? Okay. So next post was Aegis Firebird. Aegis Firebird updates. Okay, and Retaliator. There's a bunch of postings on this. Xylo posted. Look at this. The Firebird is literally the Firebird incarnate. It's gone from 12 missiles to 24. 12 to 24 missiles. Size 3. 24 size 3 missiles. Dang. The Firebird signature has been corrected. Increased from 20% to 40%. It's an okay trade-off. All Retaliator turrets have been upgraded to size 3 laser repeaters. Okay, I'm fine with that. Meaning its piddly guns are much bigger. Wait, is the stock Retaliator smaller than that? Is it? Let's see. Saber Firebird. Missile Commander. Yeah, it's... Let's see, weapons. This should be 24 now. Okay, Retaliator. We want Retaliator. Okay. So it's a size... What was the base Retaliator? Missiles. Yeah, they were all size 2. They've upscaled them to size 3. That's actually a nice upgrade on the Retaliator. A full size bigger. Not bad. And they've had to have dead zones fixed. This is also fixed in 323.3. A few ships have way higher boosters in the initial master mode, as well as individual tunings. They're being fixed up to. Don't get me started, Brian. I literally, you know what? I'm a pourers too. I literally used credit to buy the modules and melted them already. I know, you know, you get it? You dig? I literally had to send them back to the store until I can afford to buy them back. But that's okay. They're in my hangar now. So, yep. It's all good. Okay. What was the other one? There's another one. Oh, the Q&A. The Q&A. That's it. Okay. No, not this one. This one. 5 hours ago. Okay. So what do we got? Oh. That's it? Oh. We literally just watched that. That's kind of lame. Okay. So, yeah, it's... So, okay. The Firebird got a lot more attractive. 12 missiles was kind of you know? But 24 of them, yeah, I don't think there's many ships that can fire 24 size 3 missiles. Apart from maybe that little Talon, you know? Anyways, I'm probably gonna redo Anvil Day a little bit, but tomorrow, bright and early, we're gonna do Drake Day. And that will be the end of the week for this week. It's been a long Invictus, hasn't it? Honestly. Been a long Invictus. I mean, it really has, when you think about it. Yeah, dude, I'm going to be on the waiting line, too. Tomorrow, I might have to be also extra careful. Where I live, tomorrow night, there's supposed to be some really rough-ass weather. Super worried about, you know, making it to tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. We'll see. I should be okay. I can't wait. You know, it's going to be funny if they have a mock-up of the Ironclad in-game, isn't it? It'll be a real treat if there's a mock-up of the Ironclad. I'm going to laugh. Really hard. That sucker is going to take up every bit of room. It's got to be bigger than the Polaris. Isn't it Aegis, though? Oh, you mean the Crucible? I'm pretty sure you mean the Crucible. Yeah. This is probably going to be a short one. I'm just going to have a quick final over of the final ships. Yeah. Because tomorrow is Drake Day. Here in about 15 hours, Drake Day is beginning. I want to try to get that handled, you know, before afternoon hits, because tomorrow afternoon is supposed to be slag weather. So a lot of us have had, a lot of us my fellow streamers have been having issues. Why am I damaged? Am I damaged? Damn, I'm injured. Oh, that's weird. I'm injured some reason. Sean Wolf. Really? Good old Sean's on here. He's a friend. Yeah. Well, my health is okay now. Let's go ahead and handle Anvil Day really quick. Yeah, 150 ships get mixed up a lot. Easily. Is that a NPC? It's kind of weird. It's walking too regular to be a person. Whoa, dude. I think this might be an NPC. Nah, it's a player. There's no way that's an NPC. Whoa now, where'd that guy come from? Oh, he teleported. What the? Getting a lot of teleporting here. A lot of teleporting. Sometimes global chat is the funniest damn thing. I swear. By the way, Brian, weren't we supposed to get in this patch freaking what do you call it? The final battle for the Ninetales? What the hell happened to that? Did they delay it or something after Invictus?
Invictus launch week is an opportunity for the public.
I don't remember. Did they delay the damn thing or something? Yeah. I think that might allow people to... I knew it would be, kinda. You got a theory on it? I knew it would kinda happen. Aw, Doopy Bug doesn't work anymore. Darn it. Duplication bugged.
Invictus is a celebration of the men and women who are about to ship off to
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm actually happy with the Firebird changes. Honestly, the Firebird seemed a little under-missiled for what it can do. So 4 separate rows of them make it a lot more dangerous to engage. Almost Ares level engagement, you know? You could have a Polaris with one of those ships on board, and it would just boom out, fire 24 size 3 missiles to soften a target up and then torp it to death, right? How about that for a strategy? That would actually be pretty sound. Pack it full of stealth crap, right? And then have it loop back, right? Yeah, it is. It's gonna be a game changer, bro. Legit game changer. The Polaris, the big boy, tomorrow, all that, yeah. You bet your ass it's gonna be a game changer. You bet your ass it will be. Okay, so we have the light fighter arrow. Honestly, I feel like everybody needs one of these. One of these 2 ships, the Expedition or the R. The Pisces Rescue, this ship is definitely a need ship. The Hawk, when stun weapons are useful, this will be your light bounty hunting rig right here. And then you have the Terrapin, which is a Heavily armed. I have the Terrapin. This ship right here. Once it gets its real changes in a row, everyone needs a medical nurse. Yeah. I would also argue if you have a larger package, at least one of you guys needs one of these. You know, a scanner ship. Forget the Drake scanner ship. Even as much as I like it, you know, I love the Terrapin because it's heavier armor and a better shield. You know, better shield, better armor, better survivability. It's purpose built for scanning. I know though the Terrapin's gonna get a rework very, very soon. Probably when they hit Anvil, you know, stuff. But we'll see. Let's see if I can go on the Carrack. Yeah. Hey, the elevator works today. The elevator work. Yeah, it's my hands down favorite scout ship though. Yeah, it is mine. Habitation deck. So on the Carrack, it has no pilot controlled weapons. It has 2 large shields, but it has decent armor, being part military, and it has a full medical suite with a bunch of stuff for exploratory reasons. This ship right here one of my favorite ships. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's still a good ship, medically. I just wish there was Anvil had a larger ship than the Carrack, you know? I love the medical stations, all that on it. I wish these beds also worked, making it a full-on hospital, you know, mini hospital. They should, by all rights. On this side is the meeting room. I think there's a crawl space here, maybe? No. On this side is a non-functional billiard table and a toilet. This is the rec room slash bathroom, I think. I actually haven't been on this ship before. Okay, there's toilet here. Oh, there's several here. Okay. Huh. Several toilets. That's funny. And hey, look, I'm a vampire. No shadow. It's too funny. Yeah, I know that I know they said there's not going to be a larger exploratory ship than the Carrack, but I just don't believe it, you know? The Endeavor, everyone circles back to the Endeavor. I don't believe it. See, here's the crew quarters for the Anvil Carrack. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 bunks. And 5. I think this is the first mate's bunk, probably. Storage lockers, it'll soon be functional according to the resource redo. Bathroom again. Honestly, or showers. Yeah, showers. So this is hygiene related. Again, another vampire mirror. And I agree with that. You know, in terms of origin, I want to say this. The small luxury ship is the 890 jump. I want to meet the 1090. The largest ship Origin will ever produce. Because they don't have a true capital ship, Origin. Right? Can you imagine if they came out with a 200-meter long luxury liner? All the Origin owners would be absolutely gaga. A super space yacht, yeah, exactly. You feeling it, you're feeling it, you get it, you get it. Exactly. A super space yacht. Okay, that was the habitation deck for the Carrack. So now we're going to go up one level to the technical deck. This ship is 4 decks. So up here, first behind the elevator, we have the, I believe, port side turret. Engineering area, kind of looks like it. Starboard side turret, okay. This is the engineering section. And in here is the hangar. This is exclusively made for the Pisces, but as Brian knows, other ships can actually fit in here. I would say up to certain sizes, almost the Terrapin can fit in here. The 1090J, your summer home in the stars. The 1190. Okay. On that note, the 1190 would be the luxury Starliner. Okay? You feel me, Brian? It would be Javelin size. Okay? Can you imagine the sheer panic people would have? Okay, here's the crafting area for the anvil. The 1190, or would it be the 1290? Here's the data probe area. And then the cartography. No. Yes. This is the upper bridge. There are 2 turrets here. And then the, I guess you'd call this the auxiliary bridge, right? Yeah, this is, I rather love this bridge design. I've always liked the Carrack's bridge design. It's not perfect. We're going to check out a couple more things. We're going to go to cartography. Remember, this is one of the largest ships, in-game ships. This is the cartography deck. Here's the model of a solar system. This is basically just not useful yet. Here's the airlock and escape pod system room. This doesn't even work. Here's the airlock, which I don't know if this opens. Oh, it does. Yeah, I'm not going out there. So yeah, the Anvil Carrack, even though she's aged a bit in terms of the state of the game, she's still a pretty big ship. I mean, it's not perfect, but yeah. It still has one of my favorite bridge designs, which kind of looks similar to the Polaris in a lot of ways, even though they're different manufacturers. But I think the Polaris actually allows you to look down a little more even than the Carrack. So it might be easier to land this ship than the Polaris. See? As we walk out here and look down. Carrack chair on rails. Yeah. This two-tier bridge has always been my favorite thing. A lot of hitching up today. By the way, chat, if you haven't already and you still want a Mark 1 Hornet series, I would suggest you buy it this IAE. They are fixing to go away, even on the in-game store, which I'm going to leave a post about that later, my personal thoughts on it, how I don't think it's a great idea, but I understand that changes happen. I mean, it's purely money, I get it, but it is kind of lame. Super lame, in fact. The Bengal is 1 kilometer, I believe, in current metrics. I think the Bengal is around 1 kilometer. I could be wrong. Isn't it, Brian? Yeah, it's around a kilometer. Kilometer. So it's about 0.6 miles across, or long. It's really, really big. Hold on. Are you streaming today? All right. Here we go. I think it's about a kilometer, Brian. Here's the F8C. This last year was the F8A. I don't know why it's just one of them. It is kind of lame, but oh well. This armor looks a little different. I want this armor. The bulky armor here It's a cool arm. I think it's about 1 kilometer long, Brian, and a couple of other dimensions. There's a Valkyrie, did that yesterday. So here's the Hornet F7A Mark II. It's okay. I'll admit the Mark II is a better looking ship, but I don't like how they're discontinuing old models. You know, there might be some reasons behind that legally, but we don't know. I mean, I'm gonna miss seeing the old Hornets in the game. Luckily, I have a couple of tokens already, you know, just in case, you know. So, yeah. Just in case I need to. Here's the Valkyrie. The Hurricane, which this is a great ship. The Hurricane can be deadly with 2 good, competent people in it. And even the F8. In the right hands, the F8C and the F8A are deadly combatants. This ship right here is the space superiority fighter currently. Though I wouldn't doubt there'll be an F9 or an F10. We'll see. I almost hope there are later series ships from Anvil. Anvil ships are some of my favorite in-game, after Drake, you know? My problem with Anvil, though, is that they have so many fighters. Yeah, I know, that's believable, yeah. But here's my problem, Brian, and I'm gonna leave a post about this tonight. The thing I don't like is them doing it with Alpha. Scard and I both agree with this. I don't like them just willy-nilly pulling it before 1.0. Give us a little more time, you know? Is it so wrong for me to say that? I mean, I literally have no skin in the game, but you get what I'm saying, right? For the collectors in us, I'm sure some people would have appreciated that, you know? But I guess it is what it is. Anyways, down here we have the Ballista. God, the frame rates suck. The Centurion and the Spartan. There'll be a 4th Atlas platform version if CIG has anything to say about it soon. And then on this other side, there is a... There's the Crucible, which I hope we get. And I bought okay, you're going to be happy for me, and you'll understand, Brian. I actually bought a CCU chain to this. What is this? The hacker ship, Legionnaire. I bought a CCU to the Legionnaire. Kind of had to, because this ship's almost done. Its price is going to go through the roof. And I want to see what it's used for. This guy is going to be interesting, I fully believe. Are there any other ships? Okay, this is the Crucible. What was the other one? Hold up. Are they both Crucible? Oh, and this guy I already got. Yeah, this guy I've got, but depending on how much the assault version of that ship is, I might replace this with the Drake version. I don't know. It looked much closer to Greybox than this guy. I'm just saying, Brian, you know, as much as I like this design, I almost, keyword, almost want the Drake S Assault version so much more. Yeah. I so want it so bad. Hmm. I mean, I get them throwing stuff, get things rolling, you know, but yeah. Honestly, regarding the Drake ship, I'm kind of curious how that's going to affect the development of this guy. I really am curious. Yeah, I think I might keep both. Honestly, I may end up keeping both. You know, just to have my bases covered. Yeah. Am I getting pushed by someone? That's weird. That's super weird. What's going on in here? I think an NPC's pushing. Whoa now! Hey now! Don't get too friendly with me. Yeah. And that's all really for the Anvil show. I will be probably back on here tomorrow bright and early, which honestly will be here in about, what, 14 hours, Brian? I'll be here. 15. Sorry, 15 hours. Less than 15, actually. Around 14 hours. I will be starting to stream up here in 14 hours. Waiting for Drake Day. Hopefully, that ship is great and it looks awesome, because I really hope it's worth the money. But yeah. Yeah, 07 Brian, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to find somebody on Twitch to probably raid here in a moment. And if I can. Well, it's going to be here in a minute. Anyways, over here in just a moment. Yeah. All right, let's raid somebody. Not Summit 1G, he's too big. Let's raid. See if Burks is raidable. Nope, he's got raid offline. Actually, let's raid Astropub. Yeah. Hold on. Right. Is it the Astropub? There he is. He's a good friend of the channel and a great pal. Please give him a follow and a like. I would appreciate it. I will be back on tomorrow to cover Drake Days. So, 07 everyone, and I'll see you later.